in, everybody, to another episode of ZB's Horsepower Talk. As always, I'm ZB, Zach Brown, and joining with me, as always, former 410 Sprint Car crew chief and mechanic Jeff Brown. Dad, a lot to go over. We have amazing racing from NASCAR in Atlanta. Now we got to talk about the Golden Isles races for high limit and previewing a bunch of races this year, previewing our top 5 dirt tracks and our new power rankings for NASCAR. So a lot to talk about. Let's dive right in to the big shows at Atlanta, the 3 series, tremendous racing at Atlanta for all 3 series, not just crash fests. Crash fests is very, very good racing. And how can you not talk about that finish on Sunday?
Yeah, unfortunately, I did not get to see the truck race, and didn't know Kyle Busch was running in it, or we probably would have picked him to win the thing. But
probably.
But the finish of the Xfinity race, great finish. Came down to Austin Hill saving enough fuel, and a heartbreaker for rookie Jesse Love. Jesse.
Yes. Yeah, sorry about that, Jesse. It's my fault.
He was by far the class of the field, hands down. There wasn't nobody going to touch him. Then had that late caution, and just it was not going to make it on fuel.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
His win's coming.
Unless sure. I pick him, and it will never happen. And what's crazy though is that his teammate Austin Hill was able to save just enough fuel, so it might be a little bit of rookie mistake not being able to save enough fuel, and it also comes down to the gas man, which gas man did a little bit better job. Clearly, Austin Hill.
He was also out in front too. You're going to use a little more fuel.
That's very true. Yeah, so he needed probably about a drop or 2 left, and he probably could have made a green-white check.
Probably about a quart.
It was those are great races. The truck race is really good. The thing with that I noticed on the truck race was that Kyle Busch had the lead at the end with 2-3 laps to go. Nobody was making moves early enough, and Atlanta, it's not like Talladega or Daytona. Those is about literally pretty much half the length, and those laps they wind down quickly, and when they do, you have a limited number of times you can make moves, and nobody made moves until it was too late, and it was going into maybe turn 3. They tried something, but by then that was too late. Now I'd say that now, but the Cup Series race, that was one of the most insane finishes in NASCAR history. Yes, I'm going to say that because that was incredible. Little shots of cars with Lightning McQueen and everything, and came down to literally the last lap again. Ryan Blaney, I thought he had it in the bags going to the white. I was like, nobody's going to pass him. Just going to be kind of like how Xfinity and trucks were. If you're out in front, you were safe right there. I was wrong. And Kyle Busch had the ballsy move, cut it inside. It was the cleanest racing I've seen, and the most aggressive racing, as clean as it was. And Suarez was able to make it work on the outside. Another classic Atlanta finish. And congrats to Daniel Suarez. I mean, it came out of nowhere. But that team is progressing very nicely on 1.5 miles, and speedway racing is kind of anybody's game. But you saw, and I do like the way this Atlanta's configured. You still have a little bit of 1.5 miles dicing down low, sliding up in front of somebody as you would in other 1.5 miles, and then you got the speedway racing. Drivers don't really like it, but fans, that was awesome.
Yeah, and the surface is just starting to wear out a little bit now, and that's going to make handling a big, more of an issue. And I think the racing's probably even going to get better as the surface ages a little more.
Yes.
The cars will probably slow down just a little bit. And, there's going to come down to handling and saving tires and things like that. But, yeah, holy shit. What a finish. It's like across the line, it's like you did not know who won that thing. I know we had our, top Daytona finishes of all time. That might be the best finish I've ever seen in any track. I've never seen the 3-way photo finish, No. I think it was like 3 1,000ths of a second from first to third or some shit like that.
7 1,000ths from first to third, 3 1,000ths from first to second, which that's
crazy.
Insane. Yeah, and I mean the drivers that lost, Kyle Busch and Ryan Blaney, afterwards are like,
what are you going to do? Yeah.
What do you want? We tried. It was really good. Even Kyle Busch, I mean, you could tell he was like, dang, that sucked, but he's not bitching and moaning or anything. I mean, it was
No,
a pretty popular win too. Daniel Suarez is a very popular win.
I was going to say that's a very he generally seems like a pretty decent guy. That one of those guys you kind of want for him to do well.
Yeah, I had no idea what he was saying afterwards, but it's okay. He's excited. And of course, another Atlanta race with this style of racing. Kyle Larson once again doesn't finish racing up front.
Very, very fast all night.
And did nothing. None of I don't think really any of them have been his fault. He just got caught up with Brad Keselowski.
You think
Keselowski just lost it. He just got loose, and that's what you were kind of talking about. As the track's aging, you see a lot of handling issues now, especially up on the top line.
Yeah, you think Kyle Larson's probably like, all right, here I am, third back in the line on the outside, right behind, series champ, Brad Keselowski. I'm in a good spot, and Keselowski just loses it. So it just, no one's safe.
You never know. But I mean, that car looked good, but Chevy is the class of the field right now. They are 2 for 2 in points races this year. Going into Las Vegas, which we'll touch on later and kind of discuss our whole fantasy lineups now. I won fantasy, so that's surprising. Yeah. I'm still not in the lead in fantasy standings.
Yeah, I came in last again.
It's okay. It's only 34 races left, so that'd probably be the best I ever. I don't think I got one single matchup right because it might be a little bit easier this week. It's not speedway racing, not so much of a crapshoot. So I found it slightly easier to pick the lineups this week. I say that they're all going to crash, but we'll get into that in a little bit. Let's touch on Golden Isles with the High Limit Series. That's their last racing until April, and they put on great shows once again. This is a really, really interesting track. Small track, not very high banking too, and it's slicked up at both races at the end. First night, Sunshine, who's having a fantastic year, an insane year. I didn't expect him to do so well. I mean, he won I think he won the Owners' Championship last year, if I'm not mistaken. I think that car won the Owners' Championship, I think, in the All-Stars.
Yeah, I think so.
But showing that he probably would have been the All-Star champion if he didn't get hurt last year. Going on a tear already in the points lead. He got first the first night, second the second night, but Jacob Allen coming out of nowhere and showing out and having another great racing towards the end. Really could have came down to Tyler Courtney, Justin Peck, or Jacob Allen at the end of the second night, but Jacob Allen prevails. So really great for him and great for Shark Racing. So it's good racing so far in High Limit Series.
Yeah, it's been great racing. The first night maybe not quite as good, but that's the first time 410 sprint cars have ever been at that track. And the first night, the crowds, it was a Thursday night, and if you're going to have Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night racing, crowds are probably going to be down. And I also think they were charging like $40 to get in. So if you're going to pay $40, you might as well just wait till the last night and see the whole shebang. But yeah, great racing. And the second night, it was awesome. Jacob Allen, started up front, led most of the race, and about 10, 12 laps to go. Justin Peck does get by him, through lap cars, and then Jacob Allen was the only one that could get anything going on the outside of turns 1 and 2, and he just kept bossing her in there, and it finally stuck, and then he was able to get the lead back and never let up from there. But good for him because last year he stepped away from racing for a little bit. He was getting kind of burnt out. So I think maybe this High Limit Series, they don't run near as much as the Outlaws. I think that's going to be a lot better for him, mentally and physically.
For sure, and it's spread out too. Like I said, they're off until April, so that's great. And you'll probably see him racing some of the Pennsylvania races coming up. Lincoln, just a quick shout out to them, had their Icebreaker 30, and Wagaman gets the win. I don't know how many people know about him, but awesome for that team to open up the year like that.
He's been very impressive. Last year he picked up a few wins, and in the ones he didn't win, he's actually been very fast. He's probably not well known, but I think you're going to hear his name quite a bit this year. He's a heck of a racer.
And that put an end to the streak. I think they said Freddie Raymer had 6 or 7 in a row opening days at Lincoln Speedway there. So somebody finally upset him. I think Freddie ended up third or something. But they also introduced the virtual flagman, but they also had the regular flagman. So the virtual flagman, it was kind of interesting. Was on the like facing the crowd and everything, and the crowd could see. In case you couldn't see a giant flag waving, you could see the virtual guy. It kind of looked like the iRacing dude that's in it, but they still had the regular guy. So I don't really know what the purpose of it is if they're using both of them. But it was interesting to see something different. And it was a packed house too. What else are you going to do if it's a nice day up in Pennsylvania in that area? But still, it was packed for a great night of racing.
Yeah, that race always, first race of the season up there, everybody in, central Pennsylvania is getting antsy from the winter and everything else. So you get a decent day. We always said if it was 40 degrees and sunny, we're racing. It's just simple as that. So it's Lincoln normally gets that thing in, but like Freddie didn't win for the first time in however, didn't start on the front row of everything that that day. Shocking.
All right, now staying in the dirt racing realm, before we talk about the World of Outlaws, staying in Volusia for a special Sunday and Monday race this weekend.
Sorry for the interruption, guys, but I got to give a shout out to our sponsor and partner, BetStamp. Sports betting has rapidly risen in popularity, and I want to connect you all with an opportunity to get started and get ahead. Having multiple sportsbook accounts is the simplest way to maximize your profits, and there's never been a better time to sign up than now. When you visit my page, signupexpert.com/ZB, you'll be connected to all the sportsbooks in your region, along with a review of each platform and its unique benefits. All these sportsbooks have valuable sign-up offers for new users, and when you register through my link, you'll be automatically receive the top offer at each one. When you use multiple sportsbooks, you ensure that you can always access the best available odds, which is key to successful sports betting. If you want to take advantage of these benefits and support this brand, please consider signing up for your next sportsbook at signupexpert.com/ZB. Back to the show.
Last week we talked about giving our top 5 dirt tracks that they're currently racing on in the country. We've given about the iconic races, which races are the best ones, and now we're talking about which are the best tracks to go to. So go ahead with your list, and from 5 to 1, what do you got? And I think I got probably 2 surprises that'll kind of shock you a little bit.
Okay. Well, number 5, I don't know if this track actually has a name, but it's the dirt track at the Chili Bowl. That's just one of those, racetrack inside a building. That's a must see. That's just too cool. Number 4, this is probably lower than most people will put this track, but it's had some issues with management, but I got Williams Grove Speedway. Still an iconic track. I think management maybe is hurting Williams Grove a little tiny bit. It's just not the the top seed that it used to be. At number 3, I have Eldora. Another Tony Stewart owns the track, puts on the biggest races of the year. Huge draw. When you have your 50-50 is more than the winner gets for winning the race. You got something there. Number 2 might be a little bit of a surprise, but I have Port Royal Speedway. I've seen Port Royal come from just a dump, and people didn't want to come there, to one of the nicest facilities in the country now. They have really done it the right way, and especially in just the setting where it's at. It's in the mountains of Pennsylvania, right in the middle of town. Houses along the backstretch. That's just a cool place to be. And then you get the fair and you get the good food, but that's a whole different story. And number 1, it's probably gonna be the same as yours. You got Knoxville Raceway.
Nope.
How do you argue with that one? They put the biggest race on the year, and people forget they run a weekly series there as well, and it's always a good show. The track's always in great condition, and the whole deal. They definitely sprint car capital of the world is Knoxville, Iowa. That's for sure.
Wow, actually a completely different list. So here we go. Number 5, I never really knew about this track too much until last year. They kind of revamped it, and they've got basically a whole week of excitement now. and it's high purse and it's high stakes racing. They race, I believe it's 4 nights, as a similar format to the Knoxville Nationals, where you got to build points to get ready for the final race. I'm going Huset Speedway, the sponsor of David Gravel, of course, and just a fantastic racing last year. And that elevated the top 5 for me. I really like that track. Number 4, and this one is a pretty iconic one, and this that are actually racing there this weekend. Volusia, always great racing, especially this year. The racing was fantastic. I'm excited to see what Sunday, Monday bring, if it can stay up with how good racing it already has had for this year. But Volusia's my number 4. Number 3, home track for us, Williams Grove. Yes, he's kind of not deteriorated, but declined a little bit. But they're adding some needed renovations. You see the bridge getting replaced and everything like that. So maybe they're trending in the right direction again. Probably the best rivalry in motorsports between Beer Hill and Enfield. So Beer Hill sucks, Enfield sucks. Number 2, and this is where we're a little bit different. I got Knoxville as number 2, just the same reasons as you said, Sprint Car Capital of the World, National Sprint Car Hall of Fame. What else is there to say? And number 1, after experiencing this place, seeing it with the Truck Series race here, I've got Eldora number 1, and seeing what they did last year, bringing the $1 million race, and the Kings Royal is always fantastic, and the crowds, just in general, just such a great facility. And Tony Stewart's done it the right way and made that place so much better.
Yeah, I kind of had Houston as sort of my honorable mention track, because that's another one that kind of built is doing it the right way. They built that up. They got that, the high profile race, and I'm looking forward to that one again this year. That was exciting last year.
Yeah, that would be a pretty cool little trip one of these days. I don't think there's a whole
lot.
It'd
be a big trip to South Dakota.
Yeah, not a whole lot to do up there, but that'd be interesting. Definitely cool. All right, so previewing the World of Outlaws this week, they are staying in Volusia for a special Bike Week Jamboree on Sunday and Monday. We've discussed Volusia. It slicked up, but it slicked up the right way. The racing was fantastic on the series season opener. I don't expect anything less for this. I think it's going to be another great 2 nights of racing.
Yeah, people kind of shit on the tracks, slicking up and get slow, but the racing gets better. I mean, it opens up. When you have a cushion, all these guys can run a cushion and haul her in there wide open, and it's very difficult to pass. You get one where you got to be tight on the out or tight on the inside, and if you're ballsy enough to haul her in on the outside and hope it sticks, that's when you get racing. Yeah, the track's probably 2-3 seconds a lap slower, but in all reality, you don't notice that. You're looking at some great racing. I expect more of the same. Weather's looking good here for this weekend. It's because you're not down.
Yeah, one.
So, and combined with Bike Week, and you got the dirt racing. Now there's not going to be any beer flowing through that place at all.
Yeah, that's that's going to be fun. If you think dirt crowd's rowdy enough, just introduce Bike Week to it, and it'll really give people the extra excuse to drink. Well, let's get into it. Let's get into our picks. The NASCARs have been on fire this year with when Tyler Courtney raced the opening nights, and then Hodenshield had a win this year. They're I don't know, maybe there's an extra juice with that NOS or something in it. But for Sunday, who are you going with? And then you should give Monday as well, and I'll give you my 2 picks.
Sunday, I think it's the same the way they finished in the Volusia last time. Sunday I got David Gravel, and then Monday got the NASCAR, Sheldon Hodenshield.
Well, let's flip-flop them for me. I've got Sheldon Hodenshield for the Sunday night, and then Monday night I've got David Gravel. So it's really interesting. You don't usually see the Outlaws race on Sundays and Mondays, so it'll definitely be cool to see. Flip off the NASCAR race, get right into Outlaws, or in our case, we'll probably catch the highlights in the morning, which is perfectly fine because that shows pretty much all you got to see. So that does it for dirt racing this week. Has high limits off until April. Next week, we're not going to do a top 5 because we have 17,000 different series we're going to be previewing. Apparently, everything opens up next week. You've got NHRA, IndyCar, World of Outlaws, and NASCAR. Yeah, there's too much to do a top 5 next week. So that'll wrap up our dirt racing segment for this week. Let's get into previewing Las Vegas for NASCAR. This is the traditional mile and a half that you'll have. This is the beginning of the West Coast swing for NASCAR. And Las Vegas, I think, is one of the better mile and a half traditional tracks that you have.
Yeah, I was just going to say this is, all the mile and a halves kind of look alike, but I don't know if it's the surface or just just how the transitions are, but it definitely seems to be better racing at Las Vegas, especially compared to, like, say, Texas. Texas Motor Speedway, that usually racing kind of sucks, but the racing at Vegas is usually very good. You're going to have side by side. There's going to be, passes for the lead in general. You usually don't get somebody getting out to a, 10-second lead like happens every now and then, some of those tracks. So,
yeah.
In this car with the package they have, the mile and a half speedway racing has been quite a bit better. So we'll see if that's really continues or if the teams are figuring, or you get one team that figures something out and the rest of them don't. It could be a stinker of a show, but I think it's going to be a good race. I don't think you're going to see near the crashing that, in all 3 series. I don't think you're going to see as bad of crashes.
Well, we were shocked to see the truck series that they didn't crash that much in Atlanta. So that gives me a little bit of hope that it will have decent racing this year. I mean, you got to have a little bit of hope there. In Xfinity, they've continuously put on really good shows, and they're very underrated. And excited to see what they can do on Las Vegas. I think this might be one of the better Cup years already. It's already started off strong, and we'll see how it hits at Las Vegas. But I'm pretty excited for it, and I've got my fantasy lineup here. I'm gonna go through my lineup, and you'll give yours, and we'll talk about our power rankings as well, and then give our picks for the week. So, fantasy lineup for this week, the starters, I've got all new starters because I'm not trying to abuse the same ones to start off the year. So, one of the first starters I've got is the hometown guy, Kyle Busch. He showed out really well at Atlanta, and he's always really strong at Las Vegas. You race a little bit harder at your home track, so I think he's going to be in contention. I think the Chevys are going to be pretty strong this year on mile and a halves, and I think also this guy races a Toyota. I'm picking this is Toyotas and Chevys. Is pretty much my whole lineup. Just
mine too.
That. The next guy I've got strong run at Atlanta, strong run Daytona 500 as well. I've got Martin Truex Jr. in my lineup. The next guy, hopefully I don't jinx him, but I've got Kyle Larson in it. I mean, he was showing really strong moves at Atlanta. That was arguably the fastest car there, and I think Hendrick. I think it's going to come down to Hendrick and Joe Gibbs for Las Vegas in general. So there's a little foreshadowing for one of my picks. The next one I've got Joe Gibbs, Christopher Bell. Very fast on the mile and a half last year. Again, I think Toyotas are going to be very good this year on mile and a halves. And then I've got basically Joe Gibbs. It's from the 2311 camp. I've got Tyler Reddick in. And then my garage, the only one that's not a Chevy or Toyota, I've got Joey Logano in my garage. Hopefully he doesn't cheat with his gloves, which he got $10,000. He got $10,000 fine for. I've never heard that. Then they show the video. I'm like, oh no, that makes sense. You can't do that.
Yeah, they were saying that they think another team told on them. I'm like, how about the in-car camera that showed it?
Yeah, I mean, that's not the smartest way.
You can't tell me that was going to make any difference whatsoever, but hey, whatever. Rules are rules.
Yeah. Well, all right. So the lineups this week, the featured matchups this week, you've got Daniel Suarez versus Chase Briscoe. If you want to risk all of your money, you can go with Chase Briscoe because his odds are plus 120. I like the Chevys here. I like Trackhouse racing in general, and Suarez has the momentum. That goes a long way. I've got Suarez over Chase Briscoe in this matchup. You got Truex and Joey Logano. They're more or less even on the odds, but I do like Martin Truex Jr. over Joe Logano in this one. The next one, Ty Gibbs versus Bubba Wallace. This was a little bit tougher. They like I guess they like Bubba a little bit more, but not by much. I like Ty Gibbs in this one over Bubba. And that might be the shocker that I had. And Ross Chastain versus Brad Keselowski. Trackhouse, I'm going to stick with them. I think they're both going to have very solid days. I got Ross Chastain in my matchups. Is anything defer in yours?
Yeah, mine's a little bit different.
All right, we can go over it this week. Look at that.
So my lineup, it's all Chevys and Toyotas, just like you said. So this guy has been fast, just awful luck. I mean, worse luck than Larson. So I still have Denny Hamlin in my lineup. Sooner or later, he's bound to finish one of these. New this week, I've got Martin Truex Jr. in. He always runs good on the mile and a half, so it's hard to go against him. Also new this week, I did put in Kyle Larson.
Oh, God.
He seems like he either wins or runs second at Las Vegas.
Well, now he's going to crash.
Yeah, I'm sure. I have Kyle Busch getting in this week. It's kind of hard to go against the hometown kid. He's been fast, so I think really hungry for a win at his home track. New this week for me, and which is funny, I haven't put him in yet, but I do have William Byron in.
Okay.
He had a rough time last week, but
everybody in Hendrick did.
Hendrick's cars are just fast. And in my garage, I have Bubba Wallace in my garage.
All right, matchup.
So for the matchups, the one that's probably the shocker, Suarez and Chase Briscoe. I took Briscoe on this one.
All right.
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta swing for the fence.
We both got to make up ground on Mom somehow. So.
Yes, seriously. So I got between Truex and Joey Logano. I did pick Martin Truex, Ty Gibbs, and Bubba. I picked Bubba on that one. And Ross Chastain and Keselowski, I did pick Chastain with Trackhouse.
So we got a little bit different. And they said the good bet's Kyle Larson. Obviously, good bet's Truex. Tells you to avoid Chase and avoid Chris Buescher. And the sleeper's Bubba. So, I mean, they're...
So that means Chase and Chris
everything
Buescher
that's... Yeah, Chase going to win, and then Chris Buescher second, while Bubba, Larson, and Truex finished last. All right, going to our power rankings right before we give our picks for Las Vegas. I will give my power rankings first, and then you can give your pick for the race first. So this is a huge shakeup in power rankings for me. This is going to shock a lot of people, but this is based on 2 consecutive weeks of great finishes overall for these teams. It was hard to kick some people out, but you got to do what you got to do. This is, again, a fluid list. It's going to change week in and week out based on the how they do this week and the track coming up and how they've always performed historically there. So number 5 for power rankings, got the guy that finished third by 7/1000ths of a second at Atlanta. I got Kyle Busch moving into my top 5 power rankings. Number 4, the winner from Atlanta, I have Daniel Suarez cracking my top 5 in power rankings. And number 3, got Martin Truex Jr., 2 solid weeks of racing and going into a track where he's one of the favorites to win. Number 2, this is the shocker, but starting off 2 fifth-place finishes to start off the year. How do you avoid this? And if this was the old Cup standings, he would be the points leader right now. Bubba Wallace is my number 2. And my number 1, he goes back up to number 1 after sliding a little bit last week. Ryan Blaney, after just finishing about that short for a win at Atlanta, he gets my top spot going into Las Vegas. Go ahead with yours.
We're close. At number 5, moved in. I picked last week's winner, Daniel Suarez. He the first 2 races he's been fast. At number 4. And I'm still not a fan of this guy, but I'm still sticking with him. He's still one of the best drivers out there. I still got Denny Hamlin. The car was fast. He spun out I don't know how many times, still made it back to the front. So he finally, bit the bullet and didn't finish. Same thing at number 3. I got Kyle Larson at number 3. The guy's been super fast all year. His luck just sucks ass. Sooner or later, it's bound to turn around. Like I said, he's very good at Las Vegas. That's why I moved him in here. At number 2, got the local guy, Kyle Busch at number 2. Another one's been fast all year and just missed it by that much. Daytona, he was quick. didn't quite work out. And number one, we're the same. It's Ryan Blaney's just been on fire since, the last 8 races of last year and going through this year. That car has just been a rocket ship, and he's doing everything right.
And they can't surprise people either. It's the exact same team. Literally nobody is different on that team, and that doesn't happen in anything. So if you're able to have the same team back-to-back years, that's a recipe for success. That's how Jimmy Johnson won his championships. It was very consistent. All right, let's get into our picks for Las Vegas, starting with the Truck Series, then Xfinity, and of course ending with the Cup Series. So go ahead and you pick first this week for trucks. You're muted. There you go.
All right, so if Kyle Busch does not run, I'm going to pick Ben Rhodes. I'm going to stick with him until he wins one for me. He was fast last week and just didn't quite, pull through.
Yeah, he had I believe I think a tire blew, if I'm not mistaken. A tire blew on his car. I said, of course, it's going to blow with under 10 laps to go. I'm not doing the same pick as you this week. I've got the Toyota driver, Corey Heim. I think he will get it done at a 1.5 mile track. I think you'll start to see, and especially the Truck Series, the Toyotas separate themselves from the field in these type of tracks. Xfinity, who you got?
So this one, I don't know if this would be much of a shocker or not, but this would be his first win, and I think it would be very popular, especially with all the crap that went down last year. I got Sheldon Creed for Joe Gibbs Racing. He was fast last, all the races. He's been good so far, and I think he's definitely going to win a couple races in that car this year.
And you were talking about, for your power ranking, Ryan Blaney being that guy who had tons of momentum towards the end of last year. Well, a guy that had tons of momentum and actually got into the Final Four last year for Junior Motorsports, I got Sam Mayer for Las Vegas.
Yeah, he's definitely one to keep an eye on.
All right, the Cup Series, who are we going to jinx this week?
All right. Well, you're not going to like it. I got Larson.
I was on the fence between two different drivers right here, but I'm not going with Larson. He was one I was considering, but after thinking it through, I've got Martin Truex Jr. for Las Vegas.
And Mom picked Kyle Busch.
All right. Well, I think that does it almost. Actually, you know what's bad? I didn't leave and look up a trivia question, so I got you real quick. Let me just find it real quick. I've got it on my. I knew what I wanted, I just didn't find the answer.
That's right. While you're looking at that, I want to give it a shout out to my youngest son, Michael, Lieutenant Michael Brown. Just graduated from IBULLOC, which is Infantry Basic Officer Leader course at Fort Moore, Georgia. So up next for him is Army Ranger training. So, good luck to Mike, you crazy son of a bitch.
All right. What manufacturer in NASCAR has the most wins all time?
Nitro's chiming in. I would think it's Chevy.
And do you know how many?
I wouldn't even remotely have a clue.
If you could just take a guess. Because that's part of the question, too.
750?
853. That was
not too far
just
off.
Updated with Daniel Suarez. So, and they actually have the most of the newest generation car as well. They have 39 wins in the next gen. But yeah, Ford has the second most all time because it's changed so much. And there's two that actually, I'll give you a bonus point because we're keeping score. If you could tell me what there's two manufacturers that have one single win in the NASCAR Cup Series. Do you know which ones those are? And these are you wouldn't even think that they were ever in NASCAR. So this is a trick.
Edsel?
Doesn't even look like they have a win. No.
Okay. Well, I know Hudson has had a win.
They had 79.
Yeah. Wow. I can't even. I'm sure it's an old manufacturer, like Checker.
Checker doesn't have a win. So, one of them's Jaguar.
Oh, no kidding. I would have never guessed that.
It was at Linden Airport in New Jersey, and Al Keller was the driver. And the other one is Nash, NMC, and that won at Curtis Turner in Charlotte in 1951.
Huh. Never even heard of those.
It says Charlotte Speedway. I don't think it's the same Charlotte Speedway as they have now. I think it's a different track specifically. But yeah, I had the question in my head, and I just obviously wasn't prepared. Sorry about that for the suspense, guys. All right, so again, next week we're not doing the top 5. We got a lot of crap to talk about next week. A lot of racing coming up, and yeah, I think that does it this week. So if you guys are listening to this, make sure you can listen anywhere you get your podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you share it and like, subscribe, and keep following on all social media platforms. And I always release some videos on TikTok and Facebook and all that stuff. So follow everywhere, and Instagram too. So that's always on there as well. I'm not the savvy genius with social media stuff, but I try, so it gets on there. All right, till next week, Dad. We'll get into lots of racing next week. Might be a little bit longer episode next week.
A lot of racing. Tony Stewart's debut in Top Fuel Dragster.
That should bring in quite a crowd, I think.
That place is going to be packed.
All right, see you then, Dad.
All right, bye.